The room was already tense before a single word was spoken. Cameras lined the back wall. Staffers whispered in tight circles. Members of Congress shuffled papers, rehearsing arguments they had made 100 times before. But everyone in that hearing room knew something unusual was about to happen, because when Chairman James Comer leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed across the dais at Representative Jasmine Crockett, it wasn't going to be routine politics. It was going to be a collision, and in Washington, collisions make history. What happened next would ripple far beyond the chamber walls. The hearing had been building toward confrontation all morning. Republicans pressed their claims. Democrats fired back. The usual rhythms of Capitol Hill accusation, rebuttal, objection played like a familiar song. But Crockett wasn't in a familiar mood. The Texas Democrat had earned a reputation for refusing to play quiet, for turning hearings into moments, for asking the kind of questions that forced uncomfortable silences. Supporters called it fearless. Critics called it theatrical. Either way, people listened. So when Comer began directing his remarks toward her, the air shifted. He spoke with the authority of a chairman, methodical, firm, deliberate. His message was clear. The majority had a job to do, and distractions wouldn't derail it. But then came the pivot. Comer challenged the framing that Crockett and other Democrats had been using. He questioned their priorities. He implied politics were creeping where procedures should rule. On paper, it sounded like oversight in the room. It sounded personal. Crockett didn't flinch. She leaned toward the microphone, eyes steady, posture calm, the look of someone who had been underestimated before and survived it. When she began to speak, her voice carried the careful control of a trial attorney. Every syllable chosen, every pause intentional. She reminded the room why the hearing mattered, at least from her perspective. She argued that accountability runs in more than one direction. She pushed back on what she viewed as selective outrage. And then she did something that has become her signature. She widened the frame. This wasn't just about political rivals, she suggested. It was about real people, real consequences, real lives that rarely get mentioned when power debates, heads turned, pens stopped moving. Because now, this wasn't routine anymore. Comer responded quickly. He defended the integrity of the investigation. He insisted the committee would not be sidetracked. His tone sharpened, the way it often does when hearings teeter on losing structure. The exchange became faster, tighter, two different visions of responsibility colliding in real time. Observers could sense it. Neither side intended to yield. If you watched closely, you could see something else happening. Two members, behind them veterans of countless hearings, leaned back with the look of people witnessing a moment that would travel far beyond C-SPAN. They were right within minutes. Clips of the confrontation were already racing across social media. Supporters crowned winners. Opponents declared disasters. Narratives formed instantly, solidifying before the gavel could even fall. But inside the room, there was no hashtag. Only the raw mechanics of democracy, messy, loud, unscripted. Crockett pressed again. She argued that oversight should never ignore humanity, that investigations should not become weapons, that if Congress demands transparency, it must also be willing to confront truths that cut in every direction. Her words landed with force. For her allies, it was moral clarity. For critics, it was deflection. For everyone else, it was compelling. Television Comer, to his credit, did not retreat. He brought the conversation back to mandate, jurisdiction, precedent. He reminded members that hearings function on rules, not emotion. And yet emotion hung in the air anyway, because underneath the parliamentary language was a deeper disagreement about what accountability even means. Is it legal? Is it political? Is it human? Neither side was merely arguing facts. They were arguing philosophy at one point. The tension rose high enough that the chair had to reassert order. Voices had edged toward overlap. Time limits loomed, but even as the gavel steadied the room, the energy refused to settle. Moments like this are why Americans watch, not for paperwork, for contrast. Outside Washington, viewers saw two fighters. They saw Coomer, determined to run a disciplined investigation, unwilling to surrender control of his committee. They saw Crockett, unwilling to allow the conversation to narrow, insisting broader impacts be heard. Both believed they were defending the institution. Both believed the other risked damaging it. And then, almost as suddenly as it erupted, the confrontation moved on. Another member spoke. Another topic rose. The machinery continued, but everyone knew the headline had already been written, because hearings end, moments don't, by evening. The clips were everywhere. Cable news replayed the sharpest lines. Commentators dissected body language like sports analysts reviewing game tape. Fundraising emails blasted out interpretations within hours. In modern politics, performance and principle are inseparable, and this performance had weight. For Crockett, it reinforced an image she has cultivated: direct, unapologetic, unafraid of power. For Comer, it underscored his resolve to maintain authority and keep investigations on track. No matter how heated the pushback, neither walked away smaller. If anything, both grew larger in the eyes of their audiences. But beyond the partisanship, the exchange revealed something essential about this era of American government. Conflict is no longer a side effect, it is the arena. Lawmakers aren't only debating outcomes, they're debating narratives, legitimacy, whose urgency counts, and when those visions clash, sparks fly. So what happened next? No vote flipped because of it? No law changed overnight, but people paid attention. And in politics, attention is power. Long after the microphones cooled, staffers packed up, and the chamber lights dimmed, the confrontation kept echoing online, in living rooms, in conversations about what Congress is and what it should be. Some called it courage. Some called it chaos. Maybe it was both. One thing is certain. When James Comer confronted Jasmine Crockett, Washington witnessed more than an argument. It witnessed to unyielding interpretations of duty colliding in public view. And in that collision, the country caught a glimpse of itself,